So the last video I made was a video talking about a zoning technique to help you not repeat the same houses in your low-density suburbs. Today I've got a video for you. This video is kind of the opposite. This video is about squares. I'm going to be calling them sleepy squares. They can hold pretty much every type of zoning you want. The only ones that I recommend you not mixing together would be industrial with residential ones, but high density and low density commercial, high density and low density offices, the mixed housing, the row housing, low rent, high density housing, medium density housing, all of those will all fit within each other in these squares, in these designs. Another YouTuber, Joy Build Cities, she had something that she called super blocks in her pre-release videos. Her design was focused on having a lot more green space and flexible walking paths, curvy walking paths. But what I've got for you today is something that is a lot more customizable with the buildings that you put on the edges of this design. A few rules, you can understand the concept of what's happening and you can edit and change it to suit whatever needs you need it to do, wherever you want in your city. Whatever you need it to do, these sleepy squares have got you. I don't know how long this video will be, talking about all of these different squares that I have. So if it turns out to be a bit too long, I will make a separate video showing you how to make these squares. But I will just go through the ones that I've got. I have about 8 or 9 different ones, and I'll talk to you briefly about each one, what's different between it and the last one, and the sizes of it and the population that you can expect from each size. So the first category that I've got is row houses and low density houses in the same square. And the second house in this, the second square in this category, is the smallest one that I've managed to make that still looks quite nice. I've called this one Row and Low. This is the low density and the medium density on the corners, with low density in the middle, creating this kind of height here. This is what we're looking at. I quite like this one. It's from a distance. These low density houses and the green lawns that they have kind of make it look like it's a little park area from a distance. It opens it up. It feels a lot more open and homely and community. And that is this one here. We have 187 households, 280 people in it, and it is a 120 by 120 square. Check that here. 120 by 120. Very versatile. This 120 size can fit in a lot of places. These two sections here, I tried to make something happen with row houses in the middle, but I don't like it. I couldn't make it work. I much prefer the faces of these row houses making a hard exterior line, being a good border to your individual sleepy square. So they're here just as leftovers no other reason. These houses at the back, these will come into relevance a little bit later on. These row houses are 5 units long, and I placed however many there are here and put a number of trees behind them as my own like record of how likely I thought each house would spawn a tree in their backyard. Turns out it's random. So the smallest square that we have, 96 by 104. Population 201 residents. It's not exactly a square, but it does give you that sense of scale, the correct sense of scale here. And it might just work in some of the awkward spots that you've got that you just don't quite know what to do with yet. You can have this particular look. So that's the first category, the smallest one, only 2 squares in it. The second category is the 4-unit row housings, the 4-unit sleepy squares. This is where we get a lot more patterns showing up and a lot more flexibility in what you can do with these designs. The smallest one is 128 by 128. We have medium density in the corners. We have medium density in the corners. And then the low rent? No, row housings. Row housings just going up the sides here. We've got an office here, commercial, office, commercial. So I guess we'll start with this one. It is how it looks. Medium density on the outside, mixed housing in the middle, making this nice square. We've got birches on the edges of the paths here. They're just in there. It's fall at the moment, so it's nice to see the yellow colours everywhere. This is the first option, I guess, what it looks like with 3 rows of birch and high density commercial in these corners here. This option here is what it looks like with the offices that I just talked about, offices and low density commercial in these corners, and 2 rows of walking path birch. And this is it rotated, but instead of commercial or offices or anything in these corners, we've got little row houses instead. This is what it looks like with a pedestrian street and no walkability in the middle. Also, the level 3 mixed houses changed to be this design. I much prefer the original designs, the level 1 and 2 looks for all of these houses. I really hope they bring in a make historical button again, because I think it looks so much better as this compared to this. Some people might like the extra colors on these row houses coming through. I don't like them as much. They look okay, but I'm not a huge fan of them. So this is what the 128s look like with the pedestrian street coming through, no alleys, the mixed housing in the middle versus the medium density 4x4 in the middle, with the mixed on the edges here, creating the square border. It's a helicopter hanging about. And then this is a high density office. This is a 2x2, the smallest high density office you can get. The scale, that's what it's looking like. It's not too bad. You could have it in the center if you wanted, as you'll see later. That is what the 128s, that's what they look like. 152, we're getting now a larger section. There's the police helicopter. We have now split the center to be able to create more walking space. A little bit more walking space. We've got some oaks in the middle here. A police helicopter that is just refusing to go away. And the walkways here are lined with poplars. Poplars are on the edges here instead of birches here. See, the height of the birches are just a little bit taller than the row houses. The poplars are lower. Just. So if you're down on this street level here, it's kind of what you're looking at. I like this 152 unit the most, I think. The next one is 168 by 168. Well, for the density of them, 128 we're looking at 300 people, 152 600 people, or 168 800 people. This is now a lot larger in the center. More space to play with to make designs. I believe these are birches and oaks mixed in the center with high density commercial as well, with medium density on the outsides, making the border, making the border of it. And then over here is just like a little variant if you wanted to have, oh, that's horrible. If you wanted to have it split just one way, this is what it looks like. The measurements of this is 128 by 130, I think. Maybe 136. Turn the guidelines off so we can get proper measurements. .136 by 1, that'll be 128. The measuring is a little bit janky. It was coming up as 120. And it was snapping to the sides here. But this is 128. And that is the second category of sleepy squares. This is what they look like during form. The scale of them, I believe, is quite nice. They're not too high. Nothing looks out of place. If you wanted to go bigger, and this is where we come back to these 5-unit row houses. You wanted to go bigger and have more trees in the center. These 5-unit row houses is the answer. If you're lucky enough to get the right ones, you can get yourself a interior tree line border. So we're going to go take a look at what that looks like. Over here. The third category, we've got the 5-unit row housings in the sleepy squares. Smallest is 152, medium 168, largest at 184. For the density, we've only got 200 people living here for some reason. Oh no, that's employees. We've got 500 people, 550 people living here. 1,300 in the 168, and only 904 in the 184. So the households, there's pretty much the same. Maybe there's just less families in the 184 square here it does only cover the one square, not the whole row. So with the 152, let's take a look at what we got. With the patterning, we are now getting these 4x4 empty square behind the first corner shop. This square you can do whatever you want with. The variant above covers that, but for the size here, you could put in oaks, you could put in alders, and make tree patterns in here if you like. This next variant that I've got here is using a 2x2 and a 3x2 commercial to take away that void if you don't want that little square void there. But it does leave this tiny one in here. There's a single unit square in there that you could put in the same tree that is here. I think it's an alder. There's not one there at the moment. Oh, an alder doesn't fit. Which one fits? A birch fits, but it won't be the same texture. Chestnut. Chestnut will grow up to be enough to continue that pattern through. So that's what it looks like with the 2x2 and 3x2. And then if you put the mixed density on the outside to have your building to be squares on the outside, this is what it looks like. These are only 4x4, not the largest. These are the medium-sized corner mixed housings that you can get, and they are, to me, breaking the sense of scale. So having the 2x2 in the center looks okay, having the 2x2 on the corners is okay, but going to 4x4 is a bit much. So this is the 4x4 on the outside with 2x2 medium density in the middle instead of on the corners. These interior squares are now large enough to start having diversity in them. You can start doing a lot of customizing with these interior squares. 48 by 48 is these as well, and these are the different parks that you can fit inside this area. You've got the dog park, the large playground, the small park, small playground, outdoor gym, basketball court. All of those will fit in the center of this square without deleting a road. If you feel like you don't care about deleting roads, you can fit in a medium parking lot, and you can fit in a small parking lot if you take out just the back road. All of those can fit in the center here, so you can start to see the diversity that these have and how customizable you can make them. These are both high density commercial on the corners, but you'll see later that they can be offices, they can be many different things. The next size up, 168, gives you slightly larger interior square. Here I've gone with 2x2 row housings on either edge, as this is a 3x3 square, I believe. Yep, 3x3 square leaves this center spot for you to decorate and to put whatever trees in as you wish. As more assets come out and more mods, the more interesting you can make these interior squares happen. And in this case, I got really lucky with the 5-unit row houses here, spawning in these trees to make that nice border for me. Kind of happened here as well. Difference between these two 168 blocks is again the same as the one on the other side, filling in that one square with the 2x3 high density commercials, and then with the swapping the mixed and the mediums in the middle. That's what you're looking at happening. The interior square here now fits everything before it, and a small plaza, community pool, and a tennis court. All of those fit inside here. More possibilities. Now the largest square, the 184, this is where you've got the most flexibility of whatever you want to do. Starting off, same as before, medium on the outside, 2x2s of high density, leaving that square in there to bring in your diagonal tree lines. And this spot right here does fit a poplar. I haven't put one in here, but you can squeeze in a poplar here and a birch here and there, and then an alder back here, and have your diagonal coming through. There is even enough space in this little section for you to put some of the wildflower, cultivated flower bushes in here. More options. Not a lot, but just those extra plants in here help soften that corner and help tie in everything that's going on. In the center here, we've got the mixed housing, commercial houses again. This is the level 3 version where it starts to have that step, and this is where I really would like the mark as historical. Having the flat roof come around and having the high density commercial here being just that little bit lower would just makes the scale feel a lot nicer and looks a whole lot smoother. I much prefer it. And then coming up here, we've got the 2x3 commercial with the 2x2 commercial, and we've got the mixed housings on the outside this time, and on the inside it looks like, with high density commercial, space for decorating. Then we have the mixed 4x4 on the outside, medium commercial in the center, space for decorating. And then at the back here, I've zoned in a couple extra things just so that you can get a sense of scale. If you wanted to use these larger 4x4 mixed density buildings, then these ones on the outside are a very similar height, and you could sub them in anywhere in the center or in the corners if you wanted. We've got a 2x2 abandoned low rent housing, a 2x3 medium density, a 4x4 medium density, and a 2x2 high density housing. Is them top down, the height of them, the scale, they would fit in the center nicely, or they could replace any of these corner ones easily. And this is what the 186 looks like with the community pool in the center. There's enough space around here to put in some birches. You could put in some alders in here. You could put in some oaks. I think maybe not. Maybe, oh, okay, there's one spot you can put an oak. The community pool here doesn't fit perfectly center, so what I've done here is I've grabbed the community pool and I've turned my snapping off to be able to place it more accurately in the center and still having it connected. So that's why it looks like the way it does. There's enough space around it to decorate. Now with the interior squares, same as before, it will fit all of these options and more. You can fit a large playground, dog park, small park, and a basketball court all in the one center of a 184 Sleepy Square. Whereas over here, you can see in the 152 version, you can fit in one dog park and maybe a bit of decorating, maybe a 2x2 commercial can fit in there. Basketball court, same situation. But in the 184s, you can fit in nearly anything you want. We've got a small plaza that fits in the center with enough space to do a 2x2 commercial or high density or whatever you want behind there, or just decorate. You got a tennis court here with enough space to put 2x2s on either side of it, so you could still have your 4 2x2 mixed density housings to make that square look. The skate park fits in here with half of this space still available, so you could chuck in the path and do whatever you want with the space. A lot of flexibility. If you're willing to take off an edge, an underground parking fits in here with enough space to decorate down the sides or put in some office buildings. And the large city park fits in here without deleting the edges, and the large parking lot will fit in if you delete the edges and just keep one side on your square. So that is a quick rundown of the individual squares, which wasn't quick, that was 25 minutes. So I will be putting how to build these in a separate video. But that's what they look like individually, and a brief talk of the different customization options you can put in the centers and how they look. And I've gone ahead and made a larger 184 grid for you to see what it looks like on a bigger scale. Up here, we've got Sleepy Square. It is 1.1 kilometers by 736. It is big. It takes up 4 map tiles. It's not centered, obviously, but there is 1 map square. So this is 4 map tiles worth of my squares, of the Sleepy Squares. In the center here, I've taken out the connecting ones to make space for facilities. We've got a high school, a college, an elementary school with both upgrades, a botanical garden, and a city hall. So you can fit, and there's space for more in here. Like, you can fit in a lot of things in this center area if you wanted to. And while I'm on that train of thought, an elementary school will fit on the side of your 184 squares, so they could be on the interior here, and you can have an interior primary school in any one of these squares. So starting from here, we've got a small park built into the center with trees. We've got the 2x2 low density offices here. They're 2x2 square. I've filled with 2 alders, however you want to say, a hickory in the next one, and then a poplar on that corner there, with nothing flanking it. Center, we've got mixed housing and high density commercials, with the paths connecting up everywhere. Everyone loves to walk here. This is much the same as the last one, except these mixed housings haven't leveled up yet. And I believe we've got high density commercial on the outside flanks here. And that pattern more or less alternates throughout the whole section, this whole district of Sleepy Square. Small variances we've got is an underground parking lot in here. We've got 2x2 high density offices in the middle here with low density commercial next to it. This one we've got high density or low rent housing, or maybe a mixture of both. I think the edges are mixed housing, then low rent housing and high density housing. So scale here it's not out of place, it looks alright. These offices, they look a little bit out of place. I think if they were a little bit closer to each other, it might feel a little bit less out of place, but that's what it looks like. We've got medium density on the inside here, with medium density on the outside as well. And much the same, much the same. This one is a community pool, fitting in the middle. We've got a small playground fitting in here with these mixed housings and offices. High density commercials. Nothing special about these ones. And this last one, we've got all 4 quadrants of our inner square as these mixed density housings to give us that nice look to it. The trees coming through, the symmetry, the repetition. This might appeal to someone out there. Obviously, don't build this in your city like I've done here. This was just done for demonstration purposes only. I wouldn't put this, like, this isn't how I would do my city. This is just here to get it built, to show you what it looks like on a large scale, so you don't need to build it. You can imagine whatever you want around it, any of these places. Coming back to the center square here, just before I move on, we go to our transportation. Bus depot will definitely fit. A train station will definitely fit. A tram will definitely fit. You could have a tram hub in the center here to get that noise traffic down, and then have the trams go out to the edges and loop around to go wherever you want. Subway station, overground station fits easily in the center, and underground station will fit anywhere in these 184 squares. The high school with the what is this? The sports field fits in here. No problem. If you wanted to get rid of City Hall and the Botanic Garden and you really wanted that sports center, it fits in here. No problem. I personally am not a fan of the 184 squares in a larger grid like this. I think maybe my favorite thing about this is having this smaller section in the middle and the community pool in the middle. So this might appeal to some people. For me, I'm not the hugest fan of it. I won't be using it in my cities, but I do like the flexibility of the 184 grid, and I do really like how the 128 and the 4U sleepy squares, how these look. So I have mixed them together. These are the 184 larger squares on the outside, 184 by 184, and these are the 128s lining up. This is it connected up a little bit nicer. So in this situation, I can have my 128 4U row housings on the sides, community pool in the center, basketball court, tennis court, whatever you want. Primary, elementary school can fit in here. A high school can fit in here if you delete the center road, and you can fit a high school and a college side by side in this section. You won't be able to do the college library upgrade, but they will fit side by side in there. And if you wanted to see that on a slightly larger scale, no, before we go there, we'll take a look at Sleepy Square to get your population. We have almost 19,000 people living in here, with no traffic, or well, there's traffic here. These people are taking it a little bit slow, but not a lot, not a lot of traffic here. For almost 19,000 people, 18,500 people living in here, 9,000 households, no traffic with badly laid out roads. So, oh, and there's no public transport in here either. There's no buses running through any of this. There's nothing going on. They all just live and work in here and move freely, walking around using all the walking paths that are connected up with each other, with these long alleyways and lanes going around everywhere. They can do whatever they want. 18,000. This, with the 184s and the 128s on a larger scale, is happening over here. I've only just started this grid layout, and I won't be completing it, but just so that you can see that it exists and it can happen, this is it. If you wanted to, on these corners, you could take these out. If you wanted to take out these corners, you could have your curving highway come through. Maybe it's curved up through here and connected that way. But whatever your road layout, these 128 sleepy squares will service you well. In the center here, this is the two 184s in here. Just to confirm that for you, we have a 184 in the center, and that's coming up as 176, but it is 184 as well in the center here. The easiest way to tell if you've done this correctly is by looking at the center squares that are left over. If they come up as 64 on both sides, where is the zoning? There. 64 on both sides, then it is 184 total on both sides as a square. So this is 4 184 squares. I've left the main roads in here for you to see that I'm not trying to deceive you in any way. If that one you can add an alley in there and you've got stuff going on. College and a high school side by side, walking path going down to get access, soccer field, police station, medical clinic with the upgrade, elementary school with the children's clinic upgrade and 2 playgrounds, tennis courts on either side, and still space to spare. You could fit in probably a metro, above ground metro station back here. No, damn, it's just too wide. But if you didn't have that, if you didn't have one of these, you could make that happen. And a firehouse on this side fits in this gap here. Was this 5 units? So you can do a lot of things on this edge road here if you wanted to. And this combines the 128 squares with the 184 larger squares for a bigger area. Something that I think looks nicer. I like these. I like how these look a lot more than the others. When these row houses upgrade, the roof color changes, and I don't like it. I don't like how different they all look when they are as they are here. Being low, got the curved house roof here, everything is roughly the same color. It all looks and ties together very neatly, in my opinion. I much prefer this. I can't wait for a make historical option, because I prefer that over how this looks here. It doesn't look bad, but I just don't like it as much. Something to note with this 152 unit here, when you have the row houses set out the way I have, which I will teach you in a separate video, the faces of the slightly shorter houses stick out just that little bit. So when you're looking at it from the top, it gives the image of a curve, like a slightly curved square here. The insides are all straight, but yeah, slight curve. It's quite nice in my opinion. So all of these empty squares that I've left empty on purpose, I will now stop this video here, and with this space I will show you how you can make these squares quickly and efficiently, and some tips on how to make sure that your mixed housings line up to be squares every time. So that's it. There's the sleepy squares. They're very versatile. You can fit a lot of different things in them, and they can fit in almost anywhere in your city. Let me know in the comments below which variation you like the most, and if you think that you would use these in your city at all.